Taoiseach Micheal Martin has said the government will examine the systems that are in place in relation to major flooding events. He was speaking during a visit to counties that were impacted by flooding in the wake of Storm Chandra last week. It comes as a status yellow rain warning will come into effect for counties Cork, Waterford, Carlow, Kilkenny and Wexford from 9 p.m. this evening, with another status yellow rain warning for Wicklow, Dublin and Louth coming into effect from 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Taoiseach Micheal Martin began his visit to the southeast of the country today in Enniscorthy, the town still reeling from the effects of Storm Chandra and a week that saw persistent heavy rainfall.
You walk into any house along that street,
yeah, we're going up there now, yeah.
It's like walking into a house where there's a funeral, grief and loss, and every house. And all the neighbours who come in here last night, you could see hurt and loss in all their face.
The Taoiseach was also met with anger and frustration, particularly from two sisters who made this call for help after their late mother's home was left destroyed.
I fully understand. It's soul destroying for you. No
it is, but the point about it is, Micheal, nobody has done anything.
But we will get short-term measures done here first now.
It's in
and I just talked to Minister Morden there. We will do that.
And we're in a more tormented because of the fact that we're in the middle of probate at the minute.
While the Taoiseach confirmed a more permanent flood relief scheme for Enniscorthy would have to go through the regular planning route, he said interim flood prevention measures were being put in place along the River Slaney from today.
Echo dams, for example, are being brought in today to protect the unprotected parts of the bank, pumping equipment and so on, and other measures that Minister Morden is overseeing with the OPW, working with the local authority, because whilst waiting for the bigger scheme, significant interim stuff can happen.
The Taoiseach was then in Graiguenamanagh, County Kilkenny, to hear first-hand of the damage caused after the River Barrow burst its banks last Friday.
We got hit quite badly, a good bit of equipment damaged and the floor seems to have cracked and the water underneath and whatever. But it's the fifth time we've been hit here, so I don't get too emotional about it anymore. It's part of the job now.
The Taoiseach was today also asked about Met Éireann's current weather warning system and what else can be done in advance of such extreme weather events.
There will be an overview of our systems and the framework that we have in place at the moment that deals with major events of this kind. They're happening with greater frequency, and that's something we will be examining.
The Taoiseach also visited Carlow Town and will travel to Aughrim, County Wicklow this evening.
And Mark joins us now live from Graiguenamanagh in County Kilkenny. Mark, more bad weather, more heavy rain forecast over the coming hours. What can we expect over the coming hours and indeed days?
Well, Brian, what happens next here now, I suppose, is two-pronged, if you like. What will the weather do next, and also what will the politicians or the government or the relevant authorities do next? And both are quite hard to predict, as you can imagine. As you mentioned, those weather warnings coming into place tonight for certain counties and also tomorrow, not just the southeast, but also Cork, Waterford and parts of the country, Dublin and Louth as well tomorrow. So council officials telling me today, particularly here in Kilkenny, that it's actually later into the week that they're worried about, when the river levels will increase again and further heavy rainfall is predicted, particularly on Friday. And this week, they say, we'll also have to deal with those spring tides, those higher tides that we didn't have to deal with last week. Now, just in terms of the government and where things go from here, well, tomorrow there is that incorporeal cabinet meeting where the government will sign off on extending those funding schemes for businesses and voluntary organisations, upping the maximum limit of funding that's available to groups such as those. But then there's a meeting tomorrow afternoon which the likes of the Taoiseach, the OPW and other relevant authorities, the local councils, will be part of, and there they'll discuss a range of measures, such as possibly what interim measures can be put in place in the affected areas, and also possibly cutting the red tape surrounding the introduction of those flood relief schemes, that long-awaited scheme like we saw there in that report in Enniscorthy that's been held up in planning. So, Brian, plenty to discuss at tomorrow's meeting.
Mark O'Driscoll in Graiguenamanagh, County Kilkenny, thank you for joining us this evening.